Hello and welcome to Home with Sarah Jane. Today I wanted to share week 3 of our no spend month update. So if you're new here, hello and welcome. My name is Sarah and I'm a homeschooling mom to 2 girls ages 10 and 14, and I usually like to share about all things homemaking and homeschooling on this channel, so welcome. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for stopping by once again. I do really appreciate you. So week 3 was a challenging week for me, and it wasn't just about me wanting to spend money. I actually hurt my knee this week, so I felt like it kind of interfered with the amount of recipes I wanted to try out this week, so that was a bummer. But my knee is finally starting to feel better, and I'm back in the kitchen making things from scratch, so that's good. But this week was challenging for me. I felt like I couldn't keep up with the amount of food my family wanted to eat this week, snack wise, so that was a little bit challenging for me. It was just hard. I've also really been wanting to shop, and like I mentioned in my last video, my last update video, that I ended up creating a wish list for my kids' Easter basket so that when this no spend's over, I would have an idea about what I'd want to put in my kids' Easter basket, because normally I'd be shopping for that already. Well, I'm still doing things like that, but I actually created a list for my home as well, because I went from a 30-day cleaning challenge into a no spend February, and it's really starting to point out some of the things that we need to get for our home. Like one of those things, apparently all of my towels are ripped apart and shredding, so all of my bath towels kind of need to be replaced. So after this no spend, I need to focus on that. So I've been kind of creating a wish list for my home as well, and that's been helping out a lot with that, urge to want to spend. But let me just tell you that creating the wish list in general has really been helping me out, because I am such an impulse buyer and an impulse shopper that I will just randomly buy things that are like, honestly, why? Like, why? We don't need these things. So making these wish lists and then going back to them and seeing what I'm adding in there has really pointed out that impulse that I have. So I'm looking at these lists that I created and I'm like, why is there, a sticky frog in this wish list? Like, my kids don't need that. Okay. There's just random things that I've been adding to these lists that I've been later going back and being like, why am I spending my money on that? So it's really opening up my eyes when it comes to shopping, and it's been helping me out a lot. So I'm really glad that I started that last week, and I think it was last week, yeah. So I'm really glad that I started that. It's been really pointing out some of the stuff, like the bad habits that I formed over time with my spending. So yeah, so I'm glad that I'm doing these wish list things. Now, let's talk about, I'm going to do this video a little bit different than I did the last ones. I'm going to share our grocery haul and total at the end, just because we had a little bit of a hiccup this week. We did actually go over budget, so I'm going to share that at the end. Wasn't happy about it. Still a little frustrated over it, but it happened, and I feel like the way that I handled it was the best possible way I could. So there's that. But let's talk about what we ate this week. So for breakfast, we had very basic breakfast stuff: pancakes, waffles, muffins, granola. We had all of that. I normally serve like hash browns and sausage and all that with breakfast if I do, a big breakfast. But this week, because we didn't have any more sausages or bacon or anything, we just ended up having like waffles with scrambled eggs and some fruit. And then we would have, pancakes, scrambled eggs, and some fruit. So breakfast was still really good. One of the days we even had French toast, and it was really good because it was completely homemade French toast, like the cinnamon bread and everything. So it was really yummy. Breakfast was really good. And I just felt like what really helped me this week is that when I made the pancakes and when I made the waffles, I made them all in one day, and I just made a whole bunch of them, and then I froze them. So it made the rest of the week really easy, to where all I had to do was make scrambled eggs. So that really did help me out, and I'm really glad I did that, because I still, even going into week 4, still have some pancakes and waffles left over that my kids can eat through. So that was definitely a win. Now, when it came to lunches, basic basic lunches. We just had like some tuna and crackers, some chicken salad and crackers. My kids would still have like some granola, and then they would also have like some muffins. I had some frozen muffins as well that I just recently made when I made the waffles and the pancakes. I made chocolate muffins. So my kids would have chocolate muffins and fruit for lunch. So very basic lunches. You know, again, we don't do too much for lunch normally, so there's that. Now, when it came to dinners, they started to get just a little bit, not necessarily weird, but you could tell that I was trying to add some stuff in. So, first of all, let's talk about, before I get into dinners, let's talk about some of the things that I was making from scratch, because I used a lot of those things that I was making from scratch to add to the dinners. Now, the first thing that I made, I've made these before, so this one isn't a new recipe, but I made homemade croutons. These are so much better than the bag of croutons that taste like really hard and stale. So much better than the pre-made croutons that you buy at the store. So if you've never had homemade croutons, I recommend that you definitely make them. They're so good. Now, with these homemade croutons, again, it was a little bit more challenging. Normally when I make these, I would just buy French bread, cut it all up, and make croutons. Well, I'm not buying bread right now, so I'm making all the bread. And that's been a challenge this week, let me just say that, making all the bread. But I had to make the bread in order to make the croutons, but they still came out really, really good. Really good. So good. And my kids would actually eat these as snacks too. So they kind of eat them like chips. So it was kind of like a snack for them as well. But these croutons were really good. Now, the next thing that I made from scratch that's not exactly new is refried beans. Now, let me just say, this recipe, this refried bean experience that I've been having, if you watched my other videos, my update videos, you know that we found something inside of a can of refried beans not that long ago, and it was disgusting. So if you didn't watch that video, pop on back over and watch week 1's update, because it was gross. But ever since that happened, I got really kind of grossed out with using canned beans. So I went back and I returned all of the other refried bean cans that I had at Target, and now I have to make all of my beans from scratch because, you know, I took them back to the store. These beans are so much better. I don't understand why I started buying beans. I mean, I do. I was doing it for convenience, but it feels so good to make these from scratch because they're not hard. Yeah, they take all day to make, but they're not hard to put together. I mean, it's beans, water, whatever seasoning and spices you want, and you cook them in the crock pot. Like, you just let them sit, you know? So they're not hard to make, and they're so much better than just canned refried beans. So these, again, I haven't made these in forever, and I feel really silly now seeing some of the things that I stopped doing that actually save us money and that are better choices. I stopped doing these things because I wanted something faster, or, you know, I wanted something more prepared where I didn't have to make all the beans from scratch or whatever. But I'm rambling. But yeah, this week really pointed out a lot of those bad habits. Like, it's not hard to make beans on your own. So why am I spending extra money to have them already made? You know, I don't know. But this week just pointed that out to me. So there's that. But now the next recipe that I made that was really, really good, I made my own peanut butter cups. Oh my gosh, these were amazing. They did not even last an entire day in my home, which says a lot about how I controlled the sugar intake that day, but we ate all the candy. So I made these peanut butter cups. I wanted to make them for my husband for Valentine's Day, but I ended up making him a different kind of candy. And I was like, you know what? I really need something sweet right now. I want candy really, really bad. So I made these peanut butter cups. They are so good. Oh my goodness. And let me just say, I am a peanut butter cup snob. I only like Reese's peanut butter cups. Any other peanut butter cup is just not even comparable to me. So when I actually made these and they were good, I was like, oh my gosh, I will make these over and over again. I don't need to go buy peanut butter cups. I can make them myself. And this isn't something that you like bake or anything like that. You just put the peanut butter mixture together and then you dip it in chocolate. You know what I mean? So they're not even hard to make, but I will be making these again. Now, the last thing that I made from scratch is bread. I made all different kinds of bread. There is one new recipe that I use to make cinnamon bread, and let me just tell you, it was amazing. So I was struggling all week with keeping bread in my house. We are not buying bread right now because it's not produce and it's not dairy. So we're not buying bread. Every time I'd make a loaf of bread, before it even cooled down, it was almost completely gone. So I was really struggling. And if you make bread, you know that bread takes time. A lot of the time, it takes time. So it's not hard to make. Like, you prep the dough, you let it sit, you let it rise. You go back, you knead the dough a little bit more, and you let it rise again a lot of the time, and then you cook it. Well, if you start bread in the morning, you usually have bread in the afternoon. Okay, that's how it goes. Well, I could not keep up with the amount of bread. I just couldn't. But I did want to share and talk about this cinnamon bread recipe because it was so good and it made the best French toast. Let me just say, it made really, really great French toast. My kids were using this bread just with a little bit of butter and eating it as like toast. And then what I ended up doing is for our French toast, for me and my husband, my kids don't like cream cheese, but we had cream cheese in our freezer that I wanted to use up. So I ended up making like this cream cheese, almost like glaze or icing, to just drizzle over the French toast for me and my husband. And it tasted like a cinnamon roll. It was so good. So, I mean, those recipes really worked out for us this week, but those were the only ones I got to because, like I said, I had hurt my knee. So I wasn't in the kitchen as much, but just trying to keep up on bread was just crazy. How did we eat 2 loaves of bread in one day? Like 2 loaves of bread in one day. That's a lot of bread. Okay, it's just a lot of bread. Okay, now let's actually talk about the dinners now. Dinners went really well, I felt. So on the first night, we had biscuits and gravy. My daughter was begging for biscuits and gravy, so I made her some biscuits and gravy. I know that they don't look really yummy. Okay, I feel like my food doesn't always look good, but it tastes good. So that's what matters. But I made this biscuits and gravy for her. So homemade biscuits, homemade gravy. Now, all I had for the gravy was like regular pork ground sausage. It wasn't like seasoned, and she wanted kind of like that breakfast sausage taste. So I ended up adding in maple syrup and thyme into this ground pork, and it was really good. I didn't have any fennel or anything, or else I would have added that, but I added in some thyme and some maple syrup, and I made my own like breakfast sausage gravy, and it was really, really yummy. So first night, it was a win. Now, the next night we had fettuccine alfredo with salad and garlic bread. Now, again, those croutons made an appearance on this salad. They're super yummy. The garlic bread I actually had in my freezer, but it wasn't a store-bought garlic bread. This was a bread that I had put together myself and made my own like garlic butter and sliced it and just froze it. So I really wanted to get this used up as well, and it went really great with this meal. So it was good. It was good. Now, another meal that we had was with the beans. I made bean tostadas. Now, when I made these bean tostadas, the beans obviously were from the batch of homemade refried beans that I made, but then I also made the corn tortillas. So they were really, really yummy. Everything was just so fresh. I mean, it was so good. It was just really yummy. So I was really excited to eat these bean tostadas. They were so good. And what I ended up doing is when I made the bean tostadas, I ended up throwing in a little bit of chorizo into some of the refried beans and cooking it up, so that I even got a little bit more of like this meaty flavor. So they were just super yummy. Now, this next recipe we actually had for 2 nights. It was really good. We had chili verde with Spanish rice, refried beans, and homemade flour tortillas. Oh my gosh. Oh, it was so good. So I ended up having some really thick pork chops in my deep freezer, and I thought, you know what? I don't want just like another pork chop. We had that not that long ago. So I ended up cutting the meat off of the bone in pork chop, and I made chili verde. So I just used a can of green enchilada sauce and threw it in with this pork, and it was so good. Again, we had this for 2 nights. And the Spanish rice is obviously homemade. The beans were homemade, and the flour tortillas were homemade. So I was super proud of this meal because I was able to do so much from scratch, and it was just really, really good. Now, this is the night. This next night. This is the night. This is the night that made me have to go spend more money. So we had originally pulled out some ground beef from our deep freezer, and I was going to cook it for dinner this night. When I opened it, it did not smell right. Like, it was clearly bad. So I don't know what happened to this package of meat. I don't know if it like got left out and then got refrozen. I have no clue. But I wasn't comfortable, obviously, cooking it. So I bagged it up, threw it out, and I was just, I wanted to cry because I was already getting a late start to dinner this night. It was like 7 o'clock when I was starting dinner, and we usually eat around 6. So it was already an hour past when we usually eat, and the meat was bad. I had no backup plan. I didn't know what to do, and I was like, I don't know. My husband comes to me and he goes, well, why don't we just order out? And I looked at him and I swear I shot daggers out of my eyes at him. I was like, we are not going to a restaurant. We are not ordering fast food. It needs to be something we make. We need to make something. Well, there wasn't really much left at this point because this is literally at the end of the week. All of our produce is almost gone too. So we ended up having Caesar salad. So I just had my husband go and pick up 2 bags of like the packaged Caesar salad, because when he was there, I told him to just pick up stuff and we'd throw a salad together. And he was telling me, he goes, everything's super expensive. He goes, it's gonna be really expensive if we buy everything individually. He goes, so I said, well, just buy a salad kit. So it came to $13.60. So we ended up spending $13.60 on this night's meal that was extra for this week. So that's kind of what we went over this week, was $13.60. But we ended up having the Caesar salad. It was really good. And I was actually really excited that we didn't go to a restaurant or didn't get fast food, because that would have been more than $13.60. So I was really excited that when this challenge was kind of thrown at me, I didn't buckle into getting fast food, because normally I would have just been like, get a pizza, you know, go pick up this, go get that. I don't care. I would have been so irritated normally that I would have just given up on the day or the meal completely, and I would have just spent money. But no, I stuck to it, and we only spent $13.60, and we had Caesar salad that night. Now, for the last night this week, we ended up having lasagna roll-ups with salad. These were actually really good. Now, I had an already open box of lasagna noodles that I didn't realize I had, so I wanted to make sure I used those up, and that's what I used for the noodles. And then I found some ricotta cheese that I had in my refrigerator that was like 4 days away from expiration, so I was like, we need to use this stuff up. So I ended up making these really, really yummy lasagna roll-ups, and that's what we ended up having on the last night. But, I mean, the week went fine. It was just challenging. Like, the meat going bad really threw me through a loop. Trying to keep up on the bread intake in my house was ridiculous. Like, I felt like I spent days making bread, and we still don't have bread. Like, so it was just frustrating. But again, my knee was hurt this week, so I was just, you know, already kind of being kind of a brat about things. I was irritated. I can't speak now. I was irritated all week because I felt like I couldn't do what I wanted to do, so it was frustrating. But now that I'm feeling, my knee's feeling a little bit better, I'm back in the kitchen and it feels good. But yeah, so this week, again, it went okay. There was a lot of hiccups. We did go over $13.60. I did want to mention that overall, so our original total was $49.59 for the week, and then we spent that $13.60. So we ended up spending $63.19 this week. I'll go ahead and insert a picture of the groceries that we got. Again, the groceries, I felt when I bought these, they were super, like, I felt like I did a good job. I felt like I did a really great job. I felt like I got a good amount for our $50 budget, and I stuck within our budget originally. So again, I thought I did a great job, but then that little hiccup happened and we had to spend a little bit more money. But I still feel it was a total win. And again, I do want to mention that I am going to be posting one more of these update videos next week about how it went overall, how much I saved, how much I spent, and I'm also going to kind of show you, like, comparing it to past months and stuff like that. So stick around, hit that subscribe button if you'd like to see that, because let me just tell you, I started doing the math and it's not pretty. Okay, it's not pretty and it's embarrassing, and I'm going to try not to cry during that video. But yeah, I'm just so glad that this is almost over. So If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section. Did I say that weird? Please, if you have questions, please leave it in the comment section. Thank you so much for stopping by. You have a great day. Bye.